You know, this video has been a long time coming. And to preference what I'm gonna say in this video, I do not hate Liv Morgan. I do not think she's trash. She's put in a lot of work with her character over the years. She's improved in the ring. She may not be Rhea Ripley or Io Sky, but she's not some broomstick out there. But we have to be honest about the way they've booked her over the last month or so since she won the world title at WrestleMania, and also face the facts about who she is as a wrestler, because a lot of people simply can't do that. What's going on YouTube? Your boy Omo Mustard back again with another video to talk about some wrestling, and I gotta say, the Liv Morgan conversation, this has been long overdue on this channel. In my last video, I talked about how the bloodline is getting super stale and it's time for them to either switch things up or abandon the group as a whole. And then a lot of comments were talking about, man, where's this energy for Judgment Day? Where's this energy for the Vision? And I thought I've talked about the Vision a little while ago in my videos, but the Judgment Day, don't worry, we're gonna talk about that today, more specifically how it's affecting Liv Morgan. When Liv Morgan came to WWE as a part of the Riot Squad, I didn't think too much of her. I didn't even think too much about that group other than Ruby Riot, and I honestly thought she was going to be the breakout star of that faction. Fast forward and Ruby Riot is now Ruby Soho in AEW, and Sarah Logan is also not in WWE anymore, and Liv Morgan is the Women's World Champion. What a difference a couple of years make, right? Liv Morgan has really put in a lot of work to improving her character and in-ring ability. I mean, I even remember when she won Money in the Bank and cashed in on the same night on Ronda Rousey, and then she got a great reaction when she won the title. Unfortunately, that reign wasn't very good. She wasn't protected a lot, and she barely even held that title. And now here we are today. She's a heel. She's in Judgment Day. She found some chemistry and magic with Dom in that relationship on TV, and she's become one of the more popular wrestlers on the roster. And when I say popular, that's an understatement. She has hella fans online, especially on Twitter. And you can't remove the gooners who love everything that she posts because she is good looking, I'm not gonna lie to you. But my issues with Liv Morgan go beyond just the fact that she's involved in Judgment Day. It just seems like over the last year or so, there's been a real stunt in her growth. And I think a lot of that started when she feuded with Rhea Ripley. Now don't get me wrong, that feud definitely had its highs, but it just felt like that feud dragged on so long. And after the turn with Dominic on Rhea, it just felt like they were doing the same thing for months. And it just seemed like despite all their efforts, like Liv joining the Judgment Day, them bringing Raquel, Dom turning on Rhea, it just felt like the dynamic never really changed. Rhea was always the hunter and Liv was the huntee. And Liv was always doing some cowardly heel shit, and they kept doing that over and over and over. They feuded for so damn long. We had to get the War Games match. We had to get Dom like in that cage hanging above the ring, and then Raquel botched that pin spot, which was super weird. Also, we could get to the final match on Netflix. And after that, Liv didn't have anywhere to really go with her character, and that's where I thought the Judgment Day really started going stale. Because without someone as dominant as Rhea Ripley to really put fear into other people on the roster, as well as somebody like Damian Priest who was the enforcer, it just seemed like a bunch of high school bullies running around, and that's not really what a faction should be. At least it wasn't what they were. But now we have this dynamic where Raquel's in the group, Roxanne's in the group, and if we're really being honest, it's about time for them two to break out of that group. Sure, they finally set Finn Balor free from the Judgment Day vortex. He's going to SmackDown, but I still look at that group and I wonder, what is it even doing for them? I mean, sure, it gets them TV time and those guys definitely get a lot of that. But are you telling me you can't feature someone like Roxanne alone on her own in the singles division? And when it comes to Raquel, I'm not the biggest fan of hers. I think she's definitely gotten better, especially over the last year. She has taken that Kevin Nash advice to heart. You can tell she's going out there trying to look like a monster, but it seems like every time they've given her a prominent or big time match, it just falls flat. That match with Stephanie a couple of months ago on Raw for the championship, it did not hit. I'm sorry, it was not a good match. And it's not like her promos are hitting any better either. And then you got Dominic and, man, what have they done to Dom? Dom, like 2 years ago when he joined the Judgment Day and was really getting rolling as a heel, and he had that match with Rey Mysterio at WrestleMania 39, it felt like the sky was the limit for this guy. And then the next year he wins the Intercontinental Championship and gets a monster reaction, and it seemed like they were kind of maybe gonna lean into him being a babyface, But then he didn't defend the title for months, got hurt, lost a lot of his momentum, then lost the title before having another match with Finn Balor, and that didn't really go anywhere. Dominic is just in a rough spot where all he does is come out, say he's the AAA Mega Campeon and all that shit, a title that he needs to lose to El Grande as soon as possible. And speaking of things he needs to lose, that brings us to his relationship with Liv Morgan and how it's holding both of them back. I've already addressed some of the stuff about Dom, so let's talk about what this video is titled about, Liv Morgan. I talked about her ascension earlier on in this video to set up this part. Because yes, I understand that Liv has grinded, she's put in work to get here, but really, what is different about her character now versus when she got with Dominic Mysterio a couple of years ago? Absolutely nothing. She comes out and cuts these annoying ass promos saying she's the greatest female wrestler or champion of all time and all that shit, and I get it, we're supposed to hate, she's a heel, I understand that, but at the same time, there's a difference between having legitimate heel heat like what Dominic had a couple of years ago where he couldn't even cut a promo without the crowd just showering him in boos, and having go away heat. That's what Liv Morgan has to me. When she comes on the TV, I groan, I get tired, I get annoyed because I know she's gonna say and do the exact same shit. And I'm not saying Liv can't cut a promo. I know she's capable of cutting good promos, but it just seems like the material they give her is rinse, cycle, repeat, because it's just easy, cheap ass heat. And then that brings us to her in the ring. And I've told you guys earlier in this video, yes, she has improved, but there are so many women on that roster that can wrestle circles around her, whether it's Bayley, Stephanie, Lyra. Liv's not even the best wrestler in that faction among the women in that faction. Roxanne can wrestle circles around her. And I get it, in-ring ability isn't everything, but Bayley can cut a promo, Roxanne can cut a promo, hell, Lyra, yes, her promos aren't her strong suit, but she clears so much as a wrestler, I don't even think the promo difference matters that much, which is one of the reasons I was never really that high on the idea of a Liv and Stephanie Vicaire match. They definitely got done dirty at WrestleMania. They had a super short match after that cringe ass entrance that Liv had. They should have got more time. But at the end of the day, Liv Morgan's matches are just not that great. Please, point to me a great Liv Morgan match. I can point out a couple of decent ones, some good tag team matches she's had, but singles matches, I can't think of one great Liv Morgan singles match. Plain and simple, I'm sorry Liv Morgan fans, Liv lacks in comparison to a lot of women on that roster just on Raw. That doesn't even include SmackDown. There are just so many women on that roster that I would take over Liv in so many scenarios that her character work isn't enough to matter in these conversations, especially when the character that they're giving her is just the exact same character over and over and over again. And they keep running the exact same Judgment Day drama week after week after week. It gets tiring, guys. It gets boring. Now, I'm not gonna put everything on Liv Morgan. This company hasn't done a good job to put her in positions to where she could succeed during this championship run. I mean, she hasn't had any title defenses. And of course, I get that Stephanie is hurt, but that's not a reason why we can't have a Liv versus Lyra match. That's not a reason why we can't have a Liv versus Bayley match. I mean, hell, over the last couple of months, it's felt like the IC title was the real world title in that women's division on Raw because Becky was going out there feuding with people like AJ, feuding with people like Bayley, feuding with people like Lyra, putting Maxine over and giving her a big moment in MSG. She was doing her job as the champion because they prioritized her. And they are just not prioritizing Liv Morgan on that roster. Give Liv Morgan something to work with other than just Stephanie Vicaire, because even when Stephanie comes back, that feud is old, man. It's tired. How good of a match are they even gonna have whenever they give them time? And after that, what's next? Because we've been there, we've done that. And I could have swore they told us that champions don't just get automatic rematches. I mean, they come and go with that bullshit all the time. Look, I'm not saying Liv Morgan is overrated. I'm not even saying that she's boring. I think Liv is entertaining and has gotten better and improved. She's a hell of a character when they let her be one. But the fact of the matter is, in the ring, she's barely decent. On the mic, she's annoying because the material they give her sucks week after week after week. And there are other women on that roster that need opportunities. Lyra has been stuck in the tag team division over the last year. Please give her something else. Let Lyra be a single star. She is great. I'm telling y'all, it just bothers me to no end that Lyra and Bayley have been stuck in a tag team for what feels like forever. Meanwhile, we got Raquel Rodriguez eating up a championship feud with Stephanie Vaquer. Why can't we have Stephanie versus Lyra? Why can't we have Stephanie versus Bayley? This is ridiculous. I feel like I say this in almost every single video, but Triple H, get your shit together. Show these women the respect they deserve by giving them legitimate feuds and giving them real opportunities. Being on the show is not enough of an opportunity. Treat them the exact same way you would treat the men. And honestly, that's not even that high of a bar because it's not like you're doing a great job on the men's division either.